Hey guys, Austin here, and today we're going to be looking at a Wii U emulator. Now, I was not expecting to see this. I wasn't expecting to see this for years, 2 to 3 years minimum, and out of nowhere, a few days ago, this emulator gets released. Now, this isn't clickbaiting, this isn't me going fishing on YouTube or whatever it is that people do to try and get you to, I don't know, look at your video or whatever. This is actually a working emulator, and I'm also, because the kind of guy I am, I'm actually going to show you how to get it working yourself on your computer, so you can test it out, you can see what kind of results you get, you can see what kind of games you can play. Now, I'm talking about full games. I'm not talking about no homebrew, your BIOS booting. I'm talking about the actual games booting that you play, you know, your AAA titles, your Marios, your Zeldas, all that kind of good stuff. It all boots, don't worry, it's all there, it's all working. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to be completing games on here, you're not going to be competing online with Mario Kart 8 or something. It's not up to that level. It's very early days, but I cannot believe it's up to the stage where it's at, and it's only just been released. I mean, like I said, I wasn't expecting this for years, never mind days ago. But yeah, enough of my skepticism, and let's actually get stuck in and actually have a look at how we get this working then. Okay then, the kind of things that you're going to be needing is an Intel chip. To be honest, anybody that's experienced with emulators or anything like that, you will know that basically an emulator works more on the basis of a CPU rather than a GPU. So whereas your PC games, you're going to need a big massive GPU to get your high-end titles working, on an emulator what you're going to need is a big end CPU to get your big emulators working. Now, to be honest, this one isn't configured that badly. I've used this and I've experimented it on a few computers so far, and to be honest, this is working better on my lowest end PC rather than my top end PC, just because of its stability and the kind of resources it's drawing on. So the kind of resources it's going to need is an Intel chip. Apparently it will work on certain AMD chips. I cannot tell you, which ones do, which ones don't. I can only go off from what I'm experiencing. And I got it working on, best of all, most stable, on my G3258, which is basically a Haswell Intel chip, dual core, nothing special whatsoever. It's probably one of the cheapest chips that they do. Cheapest chips! Sorry. Yeah, it's probably one of the cheapest chips that they do. Oh, that's a good one, that. Anyway, I've got it overclocked because it's very overclockable. I've got it overclocked to 4.3, something that emulators like. They do like your gigahertz. Emulators don't run on multi-cores. Well, they do. They cheat sometimes and do. But you will find 99% of the emulators that have been released, mostly, if not all in certain ways, will only work on a 1 or 2 cores maximum. So a dual core overclocked is your ideal way to go. In terms of GPU, doesn't make much difference, to be honest. As long as you've got one in there, I suspect that you're not going to be giving that much frames per second loss, especially at this early stage, to be honest. Yeah, I'm running 8 gigs of RAM, and I'm also running this on a solid state drive as well. I've tested it on 4 gigs of RAM, I've tested it on mechanical drives, not much difference whatsoever, to be honest, hardly anything at all. I've had a look at the peaks and troughs in my system tray and things like that as it's been running. It's mostly been CPU, and due to its early days and its reliability, it's crashing. Don't get me wrong, it does crash every now and again, but its crashes are usually due to spikes because, it's so early days on this, really is. But I cannot believe they've come as far as they have with what's been going on. So that's basically what you're going to need to get it running. Okay, the kind of files that you're going to be looking for is, as you make a copy or a backup of your Wii U discs. Everyone knows that I'm an avid Wii U fan, and I have no end of pleasure playing on my Wii U all the time. But wherever it is you get your backups from for your games, you're going to be looking for the type of format of a WUD. These are usually the encrypted type of games. So it does play encrypted titles, which are, like I said, your AAA ones, your big budget, your normal releases that are coming for the Wii U. This doesn't just play homebrews and apps and things like that. It plays the whole catalogue. It can also play RPLs and RPXs, which basically, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I'm not too clued up on this one, these are your apps and brews and things like that. So it's an all-rounder, to be honest. Like I said, for these early days, it's an all-rounder. Okay, something that you are going to be needing then is keys. Now, I believe it's a Wii U common key. So basically what you're going to need is a key for your emulator, which I believe is a generic one. One which I believe you can dump from your actual Wii U that you own. But I'm sure if you use Google to save you the hassle of getting it yourself, you could probably Google and find it from somewhere, if you know what I mean. And you would also need a key for each backup game that you've got. So to play one game, you're going to need 2 sets of keys, if that makes sense. But for each game that you have onwards, you will only need the key for each game. And usually if you were to get them from a backup from somewhere, it would normally come with a key for the actual game. However, if you're going to do it yourself and actually dump your own games, then, well, you're going to have to do a bit of Googling for that one, because I can't really help you along them lines. It's not my... There's only so much things I can do on here, guys, to be honest. So Google, for God's sake, Google. Okay, so like I said, it's still a long way to go, but let's actually get stuck into this and get these up and running on our computers. I'm excited. Okay then, so first let's see what's going on here. If you take yourself to this website, link in the description down below, you will see basically all the kind of stuff that I've just covered in terms of, you know, the write-up, what it's going to be needing, the kind of things that you're going to be expecting from this emulator. Like I said, it's very early days. There's not much to play with, toy with at all. Controls are apparently working, however I've only got it working on my keys. Certain games work more than others, and it's not very reliable. You know, like I said, you're not going to be completing Mario Kart, but you can get games to run. And like I said, this is version 1. This has been released on GitHub, which means that this is now an open source emulator. There's going to be all kinds of people plowing into this, getting this up and running, adding their feedback, adding their experience. People are going to be bringing this up to date in no time whatsoever. So stand by, guys. Keep your eye out on this. Now on this page, as you can see here, you've got your download. That's a download link to the GitHub itself. I've got it open in a tab here, and this is what you are going to be looking at. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, so GitHub, for those of you who don't know, it's got a bit off topic this. GitHub is basically a place where people upload their files for other people to look at. So when you're making a program or something along them lines, you can actually get involved and actually help out yourself if you've got any experience which you think could help this kind of build at the end of the day. So once a build has been completed, in other words, once the emulator has been put together and is kind of in a working state, then they will release a working build, which is released here, the downloads. So what you need to do is take yourself to that, download this zip file here, which is only 1.52 megabytes. Jesus, I can't believe they've done this, to be honest. And download it to your system. Once you've done that, then it will more than likely be in a compressed format. So let's get out of here. More than likely become in a compressed format. So what you need to do is decompress, uncompress, extract, whatever it is that you cool guys call it nowadays, to whatever you want on your system. And as you can see here, I've done it to my desktop. Okay then, so once you've got that extracted, you will end up with a folder similar to this on your desktop. What you need to do is open it up, and within there you will find bountiful gifts that have been bestowed upon you from the actual author of this emulator. Thank you, my friend, thank you. So as you can see, we've got the actual emulator file itself, a couple of folders, and you will end up with a keys file. Now let's take a look at what's going on. As you can see, I've also included into my folder structure a few backups of my games that I've been testing. Now something that you need to do, and probably the only thing that you actually need to do to actually get the games to work, is, as we talked about a few seconds ago, keys. Now you are going to need a key for the actual system called a Wii U common key, and you will need a key for each one of the games. Now I cannot aid you as to how to get those apart from Google, guys. Honest to God, it's not that hard whatsoever. But once you have got the keys, all you need to do is open up the keys. Now you put basically one key on one line, and then which will be the more than likely the common key, and then the next line you put the game key. So that is basically as you go along. So as you add more games to it, obviously you don't need the system key every time. You only need the game key added to each line. You don't need to put anything else with it, no titles, no nothing, just the actual key, and the emulator will automatically look down the list of keys, match it up with whatever game you've got, and it should work. In theory. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's worked with all mine. You can tell if it's not worked because basically when you try to load the game, it will pop up with a box saying this game is encrypted, you need to get the key. And also if you've got the game key but you haven't got the system key, again it will pop up with a box and tell you something along them lines, so you know if you're going wrong because you'll get some kind of pop-up message. So if you're not getting the pop-up message, you go in the right way. If the game doesn't load, then you know that either it's crashed, you're having trouble, or you've got a dud game at the end of the day. Now some games are working better than others. Some games I cannot get loading at all, but Wind Waker I'm having no problem with at all, to be honest. Now when you first start loading up the games, it's like it's got to embed itself in a little bit before it starts getting a bit more stable. So the first time you play the game, you probably get a crash and it'll say, you know, the emulator stopped working. Use it again, load it straight up, and keep on doing it and doing it. After the, I don't know, 3-4 times or whatever, it starts getting a lot more stable, and you start getting through to the menus and you can actually start doing stuff within the game. In terms of controls, go back to the actual website. There's a little click there somewhere on one of the links, and what the guy posted for his actual release of the emulator, and in there he guides you through the actual what's it called, settings for your keys. It says that you can use a joypad. I haven't got one of them joypads to my aid, whatever it is that we would call that, so I'm stuck with keys. But to be honest, I wasn't expecting to be playing this to the kind of ability that it's at, and you know, there's not much need in a joypad because all we're really doing at this early stage is testing. But trust me, with the development that's come on so far, and now that it's been open to the forums of the world, this being an open source emulator should come on leaps and bounds in no time. Trust me guys, so keep eyes on this. It's going to be like hot rocks in the emulator world. And to be honest, with the titles that's been released, even though some of them have been bloody knocked back till next year, I mean Star Fox, I wanted that, for God's sake, but without them, we're not working. But we have got some titles to play with for the time being, so let's actually try and load these up and show you the process of what you need to do then. It's not rocket science, to be honest. All you need to do is, once you've got your keys in place, save the text file, load up CEMU, whatever you call this damn emulator. Again, please tell me how you pronounce this name. Do me head in. And as you can see, you've only got three settings, so obviously there's not much you can do with this whatsoever. You've got a help, which is basically about a debug, which is basically for your login. It's basically to aid the guy who's developed this, to try and give him some information, or to help himself, to be honest. And also you got the file, which is load and exit. So there's not much to play with at all. Once you've got the keys in place, that's all you need to do really. Now it's just a case of pointing the emulator at the game, and if you've got it set up right, it should load. Now don't get me wrong, this is not going to blow your mind too much, but it did blow my mind. So first off, I'm going to try Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, because this is the most stable one upon my computer. Now it's probably going to crash first time, and as you can see, I've got my little CPU Z. My CPU clock speed's just gone up. It has crashed as expected, and you can see the kind of stuff that it's demanding. As you can see, there's a huge spike, but usually it tops off at about 80%, so it's not using that much of my CPU, to be honest. Memory wise, what, a little spike, that was about it. So yeah, close the program, let's give it another go. You've got to do this again. It's like it's warming itself up for the actual game to play. Load Wind Waker. 3 to 4 times this normally takes, but it works this time. Come on, yes! Now we're going to get through to the actual menu in game. As you can see, the frames per second up on top, 141 frames per second, super speed. But obviously we're only showing some scrolling little graphics, so we're not going to be putting too much lag on the actual processes. As you can see on my CPU chart over on the right hand side there, we're up to 91, and to be honest that's the highest it's been since you've actually started testing this out, so I may have something running in the background. This isn't the fastest thing in the world. It's not the sharpest tool in the box. Give it a second, its loading times can be very bad, especially with other games. This one isn't too bad. Expecting it to pop up any second now, to be honest. Come on, don't crash. Don't crash. The anticipation. There we go. Wind Waker is now working on the PC. Well done, guys. Hats off. Give it a second. There we go. So as you can see, the emulation, yes, it's there. I mean, this is showing me, it's displaying this to me in 1080p. The graphics, to be honest, there's not that much bugging whatsoever. A hell of a lot less than what I was expecting at all. There you go, it's crashed. Normally I do get through there. If I was loaded up the next time, I would probably get a lot more further. In fact, let's give it another go anyway, just so I can load in the background while this is playing. So yeah, I mean, the graphic wise, if you look at, I don't know, Citra, what's the other emulators that's come out at the moment that are going big? The Xbox One, top of my head I cannot remember it. The Xbox 360 emulator, it's working, but there's so many graphical glitches, it's almost unrecognizable depending on what your game you're playing. Now this one, although it is slow as an old man on an old bike or something daft like that as a metaphor, it's actually doing very good representations of the game. This is not playing at all now. It's probably the worst. Oh, I've completely tried a different program now. Before I started recording this, I was all the way into the menu, into the game and everything. But now, because I'm actually recording this, it's not working to the way it was. It's probably because of the recording software, to be honest. No, it's not going to play. But yeah, I embrace this with arms wide open. I really do. What I need you guys to do is give this developer your full support. I need you to cheer him on. I need you to get involved in the forums that are over there and actually tell him what you are experiencing. I'll tell you what I'm experiencing. My game not bloody working. But again, it's because I'm probably recording this on screen capture, and it does affect, obviously, GL programs. So that is the Wii U emulator working, kind of. That's how you get it working. It will be a lot more stable on your PCs, trust me, guys. But I've tried Hyrule Warriors so far, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, Sonic Lost World, Super Mario 3D. Legend of Zelda is the most stable I've tried. It could be different on everybody's computer. I've got no idea whatsoever. I've tried this on 6 of my computers, but to be honest, I didn't give them the benefit of the doubt much of the time. This is the one that I've been working on mostly because we're getting most joy with it. Hyrule Warriors, Sonic Lost World, Super Mario. I'm also currently backing up my other games, which are Pikmin 3 and... oh, what else have I got? I can't remember off the top of my head. Something wild and wacky, I'm sure. But I'll, keep abreast with this. If there's any updates with the emulator or anything like that, please keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you subscribe, guys, because, this is the kind of thing I bring to you. Don't get me wrong, we're not going to be playing Mario together on this. Not for a long time, anyway. But you can see the kind of work and development that's gone into this, and I need you guys to show the actual guys got into this and programming it. The games, the enjoyment, the kind of satisfaction that you guys are getting from people doing stuff like this, because the amount of systems now that you can play on a PC is absolutely unbelievable. People don't actually know what you can actually do with a PC, and there's not many things that you can't do with it, to be honest. So I'm going to cut it there, guys. Thank you very much for stopping by. Please subscribe, leave comments down below if you think this is good, if you think this is bad, if there's anything that you want me to cover, any emulator news or gossip that you want clearing up for anything. As always, I'm here to help, and most of all, you guys have a good day. Laters.